Okay, we'll get started in just a moment. I'm assuming everyone can hear me. Please type into the chat box where you're calling in from. Get started in just a moment. Some more people coming in now. Kathleen, nice to see you are calling in from Montana. How about everyone else here before we get started? Some more people coming in now. Putting my windows here so we can see everyone and the chat box. And we'll get started in just a moment. Anyone else want to type in where they are calling in from? Kathleen, Lasunya, Joe, Penelope, John, Geraldine, Heidi, Cynthia. Would love to hear where y'all are calling in from. Okay, well, let's get started. Make sure everything is turned off here and give some people a little bit of time. Let's put onto the screen the presentation. Okay, I hope everyone can see the presentation. Do let me know if you can't. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so I can make sure that that I can see if there are any comments. Now, I would like to say that if anyone has any kind of comments or questions, it would really be great if you could feel free, to chime in and to ask any questions that you have. Lasunya is calling in from Texas. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. And let's get started. So tonight, assuming everyone can see the presentation good enough, and please let me know if you can't. But let's get started. So I'm Dr. Karp. I'm a medical doctor, and tonight we're going to be discussing fasting mimicking, which is a new way to lose 5 to 8 pounds and keep it off. And the reason why this is so really incredible, which you'll see very soon, is that it allows you to simulate fasting without actually fasting, which means that you can you can eat a certain combination of carbs, fats, and proteins and at a reduced level, and you can actually mimic what happens when you fast. And we're going to go through the remarkable things that happen when you fast. And you can do this in a way, even if you've struggled with dieting, you can do this in a very simple way. It's only 5 days, and it's a predictable way that's been studied at USC and other research facilities around the world that makes it easy for you to lose these pounds and to keep them off, because as you'll learn in this presentation, what happens is you actually change the way your body processes food by going on this fasting protocol. Because what happens is there's an adaptation that happens while you're doing this fast. It actually changes the way your body functions, and that's what really is really remarkable. So moving to the next slide, we see that fasting is basically been an integral part of the healthy human diet, which we recently lost, because when it comes to modern trends, we used to, all around the world, have periods where we would fast. It was how we evolved. And fasting was then sustained by different religions. Judaism has several fast days during the year. Of course, Islam does. Different branches of Christianity do. And all of these religions, there's a reason why that fasting was incorporated into these traditions. And we'll go into a little bit of that about that from a biological perspective a little bit later. But I can tell you, after going through these 5-day cycles myself, that something really interesting happens somewhere around the day, even after the first day, but more likely it happens somewhere around day 2 or day 3. Because your blood sugar is not going up and up and going down, what you get is this calming. In other words, when your blood sugar spikes, this is responsible for a lot of the cravings that people have. And when you can wipe out the cravings and your blood sugar just remains so rock steady because of this fasting, then you really get to a situation where it is just incredibly remarkable that you just get into this mental state where there's a less emotional ups and downs, which is, as I mentioned, partly because your blood sugar is not going up and down, but also really because you've adapted to a lower calorie intake and you're not being impacted by food the way it was, the way you were before. Now, fasting generally has been replaced, in the last 50 years by patterns of uninterrupted daily intake. And this has been really terrible for people because it actually has no precedent in human history, with the exception maybe of kings and queens. And we know that kings and queens of old had all the chronic health conditions that we had. So what has been happening is this modern trend has essentially taken us to a place that is new ground for humanity. And we're seeing it in all the chronic health conditions that we have. And from just externally, we have too much weight, we have health issues, reduced longevity. We'll talk to you about reduced longevity in a little bit. But essentially, we get to a point where we have feelings of sluggishness, depression, all of these related to what's happening with this chronic food intake, negatively impacting our blood sugar, the way we feel, our mood, and all of these things. So I believe firmly that people should be able to maintain a weight that is something that makes them feel good for their health and for their appearance. And that's really important to me. Part of what my goal is for you to become your own authority in health, for you to be able to make decisions for yourself and to have highly impactful things that you can do for yourself to make changes in your life. We're going to go into the details of the diet shortly, but essentially what I'd like to go through some testimonials of people who are in everyone who goes through the 5-day fast, they get access to a private Facebook forum. And this was some testimonials. Yesterday I finished my second fast. Second time was way easier. I was barely hungry. In the evenings, my body just felt less bloated and relaxed. It feels as if my stomach shrunk, haha. And that would be awesome because it would help me not overeat. My husband did it for a second time too, and he looks amazing. He lost any sign of fat and is so shredded. Okay, next testimonial. Finally, I'm proud of myself for jumping in and doing this. I feel a strong sense of accomplishment for getting through without faltering. Then again, it was actually pretty easy. This is one of the most amazing things about this whole program. What is so amazing about it is that when you get through this, not only is it that it's not that difficult, but also you've done something. You've done something for 5 days. Even though it was easy, there's an incredible sense of accomplishment, and you end up doing this more than once. And each time you do this, you are going to compound the effects to your body. We'll get into the fact that this is usually done once a month for 3 months, and then every 4 months thereafter. And they've done studies, which we'll go through very shortly, to show that these changes in weight, cholesterol, triglycerides, and metabolic markers that are associated with aging are all beneficially impacted by doing this program. So my name is Jonathan Karp, as I mentioned. I'm a medical doctor in Florida, and I didn't start out as a nutrition expert. In fact, pretty much I was just your run-of-the-mill doctor, dermatologist specifically. But what happened is I had a patient in 2003, 2004 who had lupus, and I had her on so many awful medications trying to control her lupus. And amazingly, I got her off some of the more toxic medications such that she disappeared for a little while. And she came back and she was completely cured of her lupus through nutritional and lifestyle modifications. And this really turned into a nutritional obsession for me. I studied world cultures, looking at how different cultures used foods for healing. This became a really huge passion for me. I found this food in Japan called the shirataki noodle, which is a noodle that has no calories and no carbs. I started a company there, all starting to sell that product here in the United States based on this notion that history has shown us that different cultures have different ways of healing, and that some of these things have been proven for thousands of years. And this obsession basically turned into me bringing what I've learned into my exam rooms and teaching people how to become their own authorities in health, as well as doing this online as well. I've treated hundreds of patients, maybe getting to the 1,000 mark now through lifestyle modification. I'm still a conventional doctor in the sense that I still prescribe pharmaceutical medicines and do everything that a conventional doctor does, but I always offer the option for doing lifestyle modification and nutritional changes because it has been the most amazing thing for me as a doctor, because when someone can change their lifestyle, they've done that for themselves. They've learned that they have control over their own health destiny, their own health future. And that's the most impactful thing that I've done in my career. And I would love it if everyone was interested in doing it that way, but not everyone is. And so I use the tools that I have at my disposal, but that is a little bit about me. But the moral of the story, I suppose, is really we need to just go back a few generations to remember the nutritional wisdom that our ancestors around the world have come up with and combine it with the science. And that's what makes this program so remarkable, is that we've known forever that fasting is just this amazing thing. In fact, even probably 100 years ago, there's some journal articles that discussed, specifically in autoimmune disease, how to use fasting for reversal of things like lupus. The problem is that those same doctors didn't know what diet to put the people back on once the fast was over. They realized that going through fasting could reverse, while the people were fasting, could reverse a lot of autoimmune diseases. What they didn't really get was how to incorporate this by doing further studies and to see how this particular thing works. So fasting is the #1 diet trend in the US for 2018. If we look here, we have intermittent fasting, paleo diet, gluten-free diet, low-carb diet, etc. And really, we want to talk more about what fasting is. So obviously, if someone says, oh, I'm fasting, most people understand that that means to abstain from food and from beverage. Now, biologic fasting, getting into starting to really narrow in on what these things are, is to not consume food that triggers these cellular sensing pathways like IGF-1 and mTOR, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. We don't need to go into the detailed science for any of you to understand this. One of the principles that I always teach my patients is that it's great to learn a little bit more of the science, but you don't have to. Everything is very easy to understand. And if you want to go deeper, then I love to be the resource for that. But generally speaking, you don't need to really get confused or in the weeds with some of this, with the science. But basically, the sensing pathways are triggered up to 24 hours after the last meal. So biological fasting starts 24 hours from the last meal. Some misconceptions: juice fasting is fasting because it does not contain solid food. If you're getting calories, and a lot of calories at that, which can happen with juice fasting, it's just not fasting. It's not fasting. So why do we want to fast to optimize the body? Well, we know that fasting originated in ancient evolution and healing traditions forever, really. It's been shown to support overall metabolic health. and it supports what's called autophagy, or our cellular cleanup. One of the greatest analogies some doctor came up with about this is autophagy is this. It's when let's say you're on a train and the train needs fuel, and the only fuel available are the chairs in the train. You don't pick the new chairs. You pick the old, torn upholstered chairs. You take those out and you throw them into the fire. Well, that's what happens in your body when you are in this state called autophagy, which is where your body is supporting this, is eating up in each of your cells all the old parts of the cell, which means that these cells start to become a little more, they're younger essentially, because you've removed some of the old tired machinery in the cells. That's what's happening in your body. And so if you can continually activate this process, again called autophagy or cellular cleanup, you are getting healthier and younger. You're getting cellular regeneration. And at the same time, when you're doing this type of fasting, you are getting stem cells released. And stem cells are going to remake your body in so many different ways. Having the ability as an older individual, meaning older than 20 or 30, to be able to reactivate stem cells is a remarkable thing. And you don't need to use any complicated or dangerous medications to up your stem cell production. All you need to do is to create a situation in your body that can be done through these 5-day fasting periods, which we're going to be talking about. And these things, when you do these fasts, it impacts markers associated with an increase in human lifespan. And that's incredible. And this has been studied at USC. So, for example, what was mentioned on the slide before, which is IGF-1 and mTOR. These are two markers. IGF-1 stands for insulin-like growth factor. It's not insulin, but it's like insulin. And mTOR, these are both raised by, when they're chronically elevated, there is decreased lifespan. And the two things that make this go up or stay very, very high is animal protein and sugar. Anything that makes your blood sugar go up, and the specific collection of amino acids that are found in animal protein, meat, chicken, fish, etc. So that's why in a lot of these what are called blue zones, areas around these zones around the world where people live a long period of time, their intake of animal protein is not that great. They don't eat a huge amount of animal protein, and they don't eat a huge number of things that make their blood sugar go up. We'll go into this a little bit more in detail, but suffice it to say that part of this fast that we're going to be discussing is related to this. Just checking in here. Just want to make sure that everything is good. I see we have a bunch of other people that have come in. We have Betty Ann, Cheryl, Cynthia, Doug, Heidi, Jack, Geraldine, again, Kara, Molly. Great. Glad to see all of you here. So excited that you're all here. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. So glad we had such a good showing. So let's talk about the different types of fasting. We have time-restricted feeding, which is basically this daily where you're narrowing the time frame of your eating. So example would be, well, if you started eating at 8 o'clock and then in the morning, and then the last part of, let's say you finished eating at 8 p.m., that would be a 12-hour window. And if you were to do one thing just to see the power of fasting, it would be time-restricted feeding. What's remarkable is the original study was done by, blanking on the scientist's name, but basically he took, this was duplicated in humans, but the original study was they took rats and they gave them the same number of calories, but one group of rats ate in a window of 4 hours, like from 12 noon to 4 p.m., whereas the other ones could eat the same number of calories, and they could do that for a longer period, pretty much any amount of time. And they could eat 24 hours a day, same number of calories. The calorie window being 4 hours or 2 hours or just a narrowed window, they lost weight, even though it was the same number of calories. And this has been duplicated in humans such that we found other things like blood pressure gets better, cravings decrease because, again, your body is being able to adapt. And this notion that we are learning now that almost every organ in our body goes through cycles, and our bodies need to cycle, which means if we're eating all the time, we're always in sort of this eating phase, this growth phase. There's no rest in that there's no resting of your intestine, and there's no resting of your body to be able to process these nutrients. And when you give your body a longer period of time, you narrow that window to a window of even 8 hours. Some people out there who are doing something extreme only eat 1 hour a day. Of course, there are issues with that, especially people who have a history of gallbladder issues. But just doing that can have profound effects. Even if you narrow it to 12 hours, if you're ordinarily eating 16 hours, let's say, if you narrow it to 12, you can see improvements you can have weight loss, you can have better blood sugar, decreased cravings, better blood sugar, as I mentioned. So that's incredible. If you wanted to do something like that, that would be really remarkable. Then there's intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is 1 to 3 days of fasting, usually non-consecutive per week. Now, I used to do 1 day a week of fasting, and I saw some really great improvements in my health from doing that. However, since I discovered fasting mimicking, that's pretty much all I do, because as you'll learn very shortly, the magic in these fasts happens on day 3, 4, and 5. And you don't get that with just doing 1 day of fasting. So then there's prolonged fasting, which is 4 or more consecutive days of fasting. And that's can be a water-only fast, but it can also be this fasting diet. And, honestly, prolonged water fasting, it's really difficult for people to do. And we'll go through a little bit in this particular chart. So when it comes to the fasting impact, we know that if you do calorie restriction, right, you're going to lose weight. And believe it or not, there's a society of people called the CR way, calorie restriction way, where they are doing it mainly for extending their life, and they exist at a very, very low calorie count. They get weight loss, but it's not a very easy way. I mean, who wants to reduce your diet in such a way that you're, essentially chronically hungry all the time? You get cholesterol, you get lowering cholesterol, lowering glucose. You do get to eat food, but you do not get lean body mass protection. And we know, and that basically means your muscles, you can start to lose your muscles. And we don't want that to happen when you are fasting, because as we get older, having decreased muscle mass is associated with increased risk of fall, as well as really just overall bodily health. Then there's intermittent fasting. You get good amount of weight loss, cholesterol decreases, blood glucose decreases, and you're eating food. Then we have time-restricted feeding, which is you're going to get weight loss, you're going to have cholesterol impact, fasting glucose, and you do get to eat food. But again, there's no lean muscle mass protection, and you're not getting that cleanup, that train analogy that we were using before. Your body is not taking away the old parts of your cells, which is really something that would be great if you had. Then we have prolonged fasting, and you get really great weight loss. You get good cholesterol lowering. You get good fasting blood glucose lowering. You do get autophagy, but you can't have food, and you lose muscle mass. So what if there were a way where we could protect your lean muscle mass, allow you to eat food, get cellular cleanup, what I call autophagy, get stem cells released, good blood glucose control, lowering of your cholesterol, great weight loss, and that is really what we're going to be talking about. So really, prolonged fasting, you get all those things as I discussed, but you don't get the protection of your muscle mass, which is really going, and you don't get to eat food. And I don't really recommend it. I mean, when it comes right down to it, I knew about the benefits of doing extended fasts, of doing a 4 or 5 day fast, but who really, I mean, that's an extreme intervention, if you ask me. And I'm not going to get my patients to buy into it if I can't buy into it myself. I'm not an extreme person. I'm a very conventional kind of guy, both for myself and for my patients. And it needs to make sense. And when you do prolonged fasting, it's very difficult to do. You are losing muscle mass. You're getting deprivation of nutrients in your body. There's a gallstone risk, just like with time-restricted feeding for people if you do it too extreme. And so USC developed something called fasting with food, a concept known as a fasting mimicking diet. And that's really what we are going to focus on because it's not extreme. It's easy to do. I've done it many, many times now. I have many patients who've done it. It's the easiest thing to do. You feel a sense of accomplishment, but let's get more into it in a little bit more detail. So the fasting mimicking diet really ticks all of those things that we just spoke about. First of all, it's plant-based, and the reason it's plant-based is because we discussed earlier that those particular things that we discussed that are associated with decreased longevity, lowering, your time here on Earth, those markers in your blood that are associated with decreased longevity, decreased life, are diets that are associated with high amounts of animal protein and sugar. So this is a plant-based, but more importantly, it's backed by the National Institutes of Health. It was studied at USC. There's an enormous amount of funding that's gone into research and development. It's had preclinical and clinical trials. It's patented. It's been published in the top medical journals. I've seen the remarkable results in my patients and in the people who have been in part of our Facebook group and have gone through it under my help. I'm going to provide the help for you to get through this. So that's what we're going to be speaking about. And as I mentioned, as we discuss this, it ticks all of those things. You're going to get weight loss very predictably, usually somewhere between 4 and 12 pounds. More like 5 to 7 is usually what we see. You get lean muscle mass protection. You have to protect that muscle mass. You get predictably decreased cholesterol levels as well as decreased fasting blood sugar. You get that increase in stem cells so that those stem cells can go around your body and fix things, as well as the autophagy, that cellular cleanup, where it's just getting rid of all the old parts of your cell. And the greatest thing is that you can do this while you're eating food. That's what's really, really remarkable. I mean, imagine that you're in this situation where you are losing weight and you're losing it fairly quickly, safely. That means you've just found a situation where there's no more yo-yo dieting. There's no more struggling to lose weight because you have a system that works. Now, obviously, this is 5 days. And what's remarkable is the results last beyond the 5 days. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But, when it comes right down to it, my goal is to give you something that is quick and easy. It's a quick win, both psychologically and biologically, and put you on the road to having a system in place so that it leads you to a healthier weight and to a healthier situation in your life. That's my goal. My goal is to empower you to take charge of your health and to teach you a system for maintaining your ideal weight. And that's not really enough, actually, when it comes to my role as a physician. My role, the word doctor comes from the root to teach. So this is really, I'm not just giving you this plan and letting you do it yourself. I want to teach you a system for reaching and maintaining your ideal weight or your ideal health. And fasting can impact that in so many remarkable ways. So I'll be providing education, support, inspiration. You'll be able to contact me if you need be. But let's proceed with understanding a little bit about why this is so really, really remarkable. Here is the kit, which is clinically shown to help individuals with normal BMI reading to lose an average of 5.2 pounds and 1.2 inches of waist circumference, while overweight people lost greater than 8 pounds, mainly with visceral fat reduction. Now, this visceral fat reduction it's like the holy grail of weight loss. And the reason is because when you have visceral fat, that fat around your midsection, it's not actually just sitting there. It is metabolically active, which means that it's releasing chemicals that cause inflammation and prevent your body from actually losing weight. And to be able to get rid of visceral fat is really a remarkable thing. A lot of people who go through different weight loss plans, they lose muscle, they lose water, but they're not losing that visceral fat. And once you get rid of the visceral fat, once you are in a position of doing that, you are in a situation where your whole body has less inflammation than it did before. So the biological effects of this. So let's go through day 1 through day 5. So on day 1, your body is primed to transition into a fasting state and begin cellular optimization, which really means that your body is transitioning to adapting to a lower calorie diet, as well as shifting into a process called ketosis. That burning of ketones or fat usually happens around day 2, where the body switches to fat burning mode. And for those of you out there who have thought about doing a ketogenic diet or are curious about a ketogenic diet, I would say that in this situation, you're going to be able to understand what it feels like to be in a ketogenic state, meaning to be in ketosis. You'll be dependably in that by day 2 or day 3, and you'll see why some people really like the ketogenic diet from a certain perspective, because once the ketones are on, you do feel a sense of new alertness and focus, and that's important for some people when they're on the ketogenic diet. If it's something you've been thinking about, you'll know what ketosis feels like by being on this diet. Now, you don't need to necessarily be on a ketogenic diet. I'm just explaining that if you're curious what it feels like to be in ketosis, this is a dependable way to sort of try it out. On day 3, you are getting cellular cleanup. Most people are in full ketosis, but the magic happens, as I said, between 3, 4, and 5. That's when you start getting autophagy, and you get cleanup, and you get stem cell production. And remarkably, when I do it, my sleep improves dramatically day 3, 4, and on the 5th day, I sleep like I don't ever sleep. There's incredible deep sleep, and wake up feeling completely regenerated. And maybe that's a result of the regeneration that's actually happening, because again, you're getting repaired, you're getting self-repair by these increased circulating stem cells as well as autophagy. So it's really, it's just really a remarkable thing that is so helpful for feeling good, for reaching goals. And the kit is really just, you get a kit, it's got all 5 days of food in there. You just follow everything that's in there. I'll be there to support you along with everyone else in the group. And I can tell you, this is the most profound health intervention I've done for myself and that I've done for my patients. It's a very remarkable thing. This is Dr. Walter Longo, and he was the one who designed this program. He's a PhD at the University of Southern California, director of the Longevity Institute, and he really was the one who demonstrated in the laboratory and clinical studies these, as I mentioned, IGF-1 and mTOR are closely tied to aging. He's done extensive research looking at long-lived populations, looking at their blood work, and seeing that elevation of these processes, these chemicals, IGF-1 and mTOR, these signaling molecules, are associated with decreased longevity. And how do we reduce that? We reduce it by doing periodic fasts, which has been demonstrated in clinical studies, and you can reduce those, also reducing the amount of animal protein that you eat and the amount of sugar. That's why I'll get into why will be, after you lose this 5 to 8 pounds roughly that you're going to lose, I'm going to create for you, I've already created for you, a system of getting back into eating food so that you can continue the impacts that you're getting with the diet. Feel free, again, anyone who's watching, I see some more people have come in, to ask any questions here if you have any questions whatsoever. The research that he's done has been best in class, and there's been 46 million plus in research grants for this because of the impact. I mean, think about what this is telling us. It's telling us that some of the chronic health conditions that we have can be resolved through a safe form of at your home, on your own, fasting, while you can eat food. So it's been duplicated, studied, etc., in all these research facilities around the world. So the Prolong kit is $249, and it includes everything you need to do a full 5-day protocol. And this gives you the benefit of fasting without the risks of water-only fasting. Again, we want to preserve our muscle mass, and quite frankly, we want to make it safe. Not everyone can just stop eating for 5 days and not have some kind of side effects. It depends on your medical history. And we have a quiz that you'll take that I'll paste here. I might as well paste it now. Let's see here. Let me get you the link. And I'll paste that here. And that will run through for you a questionnaire that will tell you if you are medically qualified for taking the fast. All you need to do is to open each meal, and the meal is, Dr. Volterlongo is Italian, so he's from Italy. He had Italian chefs design these meals. They are all delicious. You're not going to, everyone finds the soups and the chips and the chocolate bar that's involved that it's included in the kit to be delicious. The breakfast bar, which is a honey nut bar, is really delicious. And pretty much you get a honey nut bar for breakfast, you get a soup for lunch, a soup for dinner, snacks as well, and you just enjoy your meal and you get through the 5 days and you get all these remarkable benefits. But in addition to that, we are going to provide you with a fasting worksheet, a transition day meal guide, ongoing email series, and 10 tips for an extended fast, as well as a fasting support group, which has really been instrumental in making sure that people have the resources and the friendships that will provide you with increased strength in between your fasts. That's really one of the most remarkable things about it. 10 tips on extended fast, and as well as included in there. So what are, to review, the fasting mimicking benefits? So it helps promote cellular cleaning, reduces body fat and weight, and it decreases IGF-1 and mTOR, which again has been associated with aging and disease. The research results are essentially that it has been clinically studied to promote health span and longevity, as we've discussed. And there are more studies happening all the time for this. I mean, this is essentially, it's quick, it's easy, it gives you the confidence to make better decisions about your weight and your health, and it's been clinically backed up. So in addition to making you feel great that you're doing something scientifically proven, you also are getting a quick win just mentally for yourself and biologically for yourself that you can feel. That's what's really remarkable about it. It's a fast way to lose weight. You get that circumferential fat, that visceral fat, which is really remarkable, again, because so many weight loss plans, you can get weight loss but you don't necessarily lose this most metabolically active fat that is causing your body to be in an inflammatory state. And this diet has been shown to do this really remarkably, all the while preserving lean body mass, which is muscle and bone. And you don't want to have decreased muscle, because what happens is as you get older, your muscle, basically, let's say this is a cross section of your muscle. When you're young, it's all muscle. And then as you get older, essentially the muscle starts to have almost like marbling that you would see in, if you buy a steak. Then you start to get fat inside the muscle. And with time, the fat starts to replace the muscle. And when that happens, you're not as metabolically active because the fat doesn't require as many calories as the muscle. So you can look pretty much the same, but your metabolic needs are less. So if you're eating the same number of calories, but your body doesn't need the same amount, needs less, then the same number of calories that you eat is going to cause you to gain weight. So we want to preserve lean body mass, and that's what's really remarkable. And really, it's just 5 days of change per month for 3 months. And the results maintained 3 months after the 3 cycles. I'll repeat that again because this is really the most remarkable thing. Blood sugar, cholesterol, weight loss, all of these persisted when people went back to their diets, persisted for 3 months. That's why you only need to do it every 3 to 4 months thereafter. And you still maintain this weight loss, feeling good, all of this. And then when you go back on it, you are potentiating this continuation. You don't have to do it every month. You can do it every 3 or 4 months after, and you maintain and improve. And all the while, what's remarkable here is that you're putting yourself in a situation where you can continue to learn in a place where you learn about yourself, about the food choices that you're going to make while you're in a position where you've already gained knowledge, you've already lost weight, you've already felt the improvements. And this gives you the energy, it gives you the drive to be able to continue doing that without having to go on any sort of crazy diets. You can eat food. It's remarkable because you're making a change in your body by doing these 5 days of lifestyle change, these 5 fasting mimicking days. Promotes health, healthy levels of C-reactive protein, which is an inflammation marker. Again, that's partly related to the visceral fat change, but also just the fact that you're putting your body in a cellular cleanup, and you're not bringing in foods that are causing inflammation, so you get a decreased inflammation in general. It promotes health through lowering your glucose, lowering your cholesterol. There's also a decreased blood pressure and lower triglycerides. All of these sort of associated with what's called metabolic syndrome, which you may see news reports on. Basically, you're getting a reduction in all of these things through this fast. It's profound. It really is profound. And, in general, I can say that you could go to the best doctor in the world and he could reduce your glucose and your cholesterol and your blood pressure and your triglycerides with medicine. You might not feel any different. He might be the best doctor in the world. Or and I'm not saying not to use medications. I'm just saying that when you do it on your own, your body feels incredible because you've changed the internal environment of your body in such a way that your body's becoming healthier and you can feel better. You feel better. People feel incredible after they finish this, and it continues for a significant amount of time. We've now run this through many, many groups of people, and they keep coming back for more, doing the cycles just as it's said, because each time you do it, one, it gets easier every time you do it because your body's become what's called metabolically flexible. And what this means is, if you skip a meal, we spoke about ketosis, where your body shifts from burning sugar to burning fat. And when people are not what are called metabolically flexible, not able to switch from burning sugar to burning fat, that's when you get low blood sugar, headaches, cravings, irritability, etc. And what happens when your body becomes metabolically flexible is you miss a meal and your body starts to create ketones until you get to the next meal, which reduces irritability, which reduces cravings, which reduces feeling jittery, all of these things. And when you do that, when you're able to become metabolically flexible, the next time you do the fast, it's super easy. The third time you do the fast, it's like, oh my gosh, most of the time people are like, can I just continue past the 5 days? Well, no, you really don't have to continue past those 5 days because it's been studied. All you need is 5 days. Also, you don't want to be on a low calorie diet forever. That can affect your metabolic rate. This has been studied. You do 5 days, once a month for 3 months, and then every 3 months thereafter. You will consistently lose weight. Your overall health will improve. These major determinants of metabolic health will improve, and you will feel better, all the while having the motivation, the desire to improve, reinforced in a remarkable way with my support, with the support of the group. And this leads to just a positive loop of feeling good, making right decisions, learning more about things. You know, a lot of times it's hard to learn about things when you haven't seen any improvement. You will see improvement and weight loss in the next 5 days when you start this. It's predictable, and I just haven't had anyone who hasn't had a great experience going through this. Research results show an enhancement of patient well-being. Trial participants reported improvement in energy level, feeling empowered to make healthier choices, a positive impact in their lifestyle. The testimonials that we have, you know, as I showed one in the beginning, where you really feel empowered to make healthier choices. You've just done a 5-day fast. Yeah, okay, it was reasonably easy because you were given a kit and you knew what to eat and it made it easy, but you've just really done something for yourself. Again, my goal has always been to become a teacher for you to become your own authority in health, which means that if I can give you something to do to show that you have more control over your health future and your feeling of well-being, once you've done it on your own, that impact is priceless. That impact is life-changing, not just for you, but for me being a part of it. And I say that with all sincerity because that's what makes me wake up to be a doctor nowadays. Yes, there's lots of medications that I can prescribe, but when someone can become truly their own authority, use me as a resource. You know, that's what a doctor is there to teach you and to give to, you know, make you, not make you, but to generate, you know, and this feeling that this is a person that I can rely on to give me expert information. And when you're given something that allows you to really take control of the situation yourself, that is just awesome. That's just awesome for me. It's what really gets me up in the morning. So what we have as part of our offer today is we have the fasting preparation guide, we have the fasting worksheet, we have the transition day meal guide, we have the ongoing email series, we've got the Facebook group, which I am on there every day. You can interact with me, ask me any questions. I love it. I love being on there. You know, it makes me feel like just, you know, I feel like I can contribute an enormous amount to people, and people become friends in the Facebook group. It's a very valuable resource. You'll have people comment on things that, you know, maybe some seasoning, you know, you can add, I add a little bit of cayenne pepper to one of the soups to make it a little tastier. I add a little cumin to one of the other soups to make it a little tastier. There are things you can modify as well. 10 tips on the extended fast as well. So these extras all amount to a good amount of money that you are going to save. So you get the kit for $249, but with all of these extras, again, you get a fasting preparation guide, the worksheet, transition day guide, ongoing email series, 10 tips on the fast, Facebook group, all of that. The total value is close to $400. You're going to get this for $249. And keep in mind, these are your 5 days worth of food. So if you take into account the fact that, you know, you go out for lunch, you know, $15, $20, and dinner, $20 to $30 times multiple days, you can see that this is a very good value for all the extras you're getting, as well as 5 full days of food. You don't have to worry about shopping at all on those days. Everything is taken care of for you in the kit with delicious food, really incredible stuff. So again, we have a total value of close to $400. With a webinar price, you're going to get this for $249, and your savings is close to $150 worth of savings tonight with this. So the bonuses that we're adding on top of this, because we're testing out this webinar essentially. So for the webinar, we're going to get a $49.95 per year value. In other words, we're going to have a series of webinars to allow you to transition back to eating, further continued education. I hope you can see, or at least feel in some way, my passion for education. That is, again, what gets me up in the morning is ability to teach and to give people the information they need to be able to make their own decisions in a way. And for the first time in my entire career, this system has allowed it for me to give to people a situation where my education is most impactful, because after you do the 5 days, you are going to feel great. You're going to have all those benefits in 5 days. And so what I say becomes almost more powerful in a sense for people. In other words, they retain more because they've just done something that's been really good for themselves, and it's just natural. You want more of that. And so we're going to have that webinar series. We're going to have the maintenance protocol, and we're going to give you a voucher for a Miracle Noodle sampler, which is, again, those 0 calorie, 0 carb noodles that I mentioned earlier on. And this is a great thing that you can use once you start eating again. You can incorporate these into your diet to avoid overeating. Essentially, you can substitute regular noodles for Miracle Noodles, and it's a great transitional food to allow you to avoid cravings and to have this go-to non-carb, low-calorie, pretty much 0 calorie noodle to substitute in for noodle dishes and rice dishes and that sort of thing. So these bonuses are worth close to $100. And if you order off of this webinar, you're going to get a one-on-one consultation with me. And we're going to spend 30 to 60 minutes on the phone where we're going to go through your goals, where you see yourself in the next year for your health journey, existing medical problems that you may have. I probably will be able to guide you, if I don't know, to proper resources for lifestyle interventions that can help you in that situation. We're going to talk about the fast, of course, how to incorporate this into your diet. We'll talk about psychological impacts for your health, because a lot of us have psychological barriers that we need to break through. And breaking through them quickly with this 5-day fast is great. But we want to have something that allows us to break through further barriers. After you get through this sort of first physical barrier, we need to break through lots of different psychological barriers as well. Or we can talk about just general health goals, exercise. I always say that there are 4 pillars of health. There's your mental state. So I teach a certain type of technique for that I can go through to control your thoughts. And it's basically a technique to try to get your mind in a non-stress state. That's the first pillar. Then we have nutrition, which is the second pillar. Third pillar is movement, exercise, posture, etc. And then the fourth is the environmental pillar, environmental influences. There could be, we'll go through, if need be, talking about what toxins could be in your environment that could be having impacts on your hormonal levels, as an example. So this is a comprehensive conversation, and I usually charge $375 for this, for the hour. And you'll get this today if you sign up for the kit, which comes with all of those different things that we discussed. So this is what we have. We have the Prolong kit, which is 5 days of food. You don't have to worry about getting any other food or any supplements or anything. Everything is included in that kit. Then we've got the fasting prep guide, the fasting worksheet, the transition day meal guide, the ongoing email series, 10 tips on extended fast, the Facebook group, which is really, I would say, the greatest part of this. Webinar series, which is going to continue your education, the maintenance protocol. You'll get a voucher for the Miracle Noodle Sampler. And for those of people who sign up tonight, you will get a one-on-one consultation. I hope, again, you can see my passion for education. Would love to talk to you on the phone. I'm actually pretty laid back of a guy, and I love teaching people. There's always some aha moment that happens on my phone calls. Sometimes it happens in the first 5 minutes. Sometimes it's like by minute 40 or 45 that something just like a light bulb comes on. I've spoken to so many people, and so I feel like I've developed a feeling for getting to that aha point. Because in my own health journey, I can say that it is the consultation of experts that has really changed. Just there's so many so many instances where just one thing that some expert told me, it was like putting in that final piece of the puzzle. And so in that call, that's my goal. My goal is to get you that one-on-one aha moment where just all the pieces fit together. You understand things in a much deeper way, in a way that will allow you to be able to make your own decisions for yourself. So I think, I thought someone had a question over there. Okay. So you're getting all that, and the total value is $863, and you're just paying for this kit, the Prolon kit. It's a great value, and I encourage everyone to take me up on this offer. My team is Heidi will be is my assistant, my right-hand gal, and she's going to be helping you to make sure you get all the bonuses, get the one-on-one consultation scheduled. But the total value here is $863, and all you're getting for that is our special webinar price of $249, savings of $600, and a really incredible, remarkable program. So this is the offer recap, and I encourage everyone to go to the order page now. I'm going to post that right here, if I can find it. Here it is. Let me paste it. Hopefully everyone can see the link on the right. If you don't, Heidi, if you're on, can you please paste the link as well, just so everyone, okay, I see Heidi pasted it as well. If you don't see the link, please let me know. And go over to the order page. It'll confirm what you get, and you'll get the kit in 5 to 7 days. We'll get you access to everything that we discussed, especially the Facebook group, so you can communicate with me directly. Again, if you buy it today, you're going to be able to get the one-on-one consultation. I'll go through the entire thing with you on the phone before you even get the kit. We'll talk about expectations each day that you do the kit. Again, we'll set some health goals for the next 6 to 12 months. It'll be great. I can't wait to talk to you. I live for that sort of thing. And I really look forward to getting to know all of you. But if we had to review the profound impacts of what we're getting here, again, this is what the original studies showed. And again, they're doing more and more research on this for different health issues. But we're going to get glucose, insulin, IGF-1 regulation, again, blood pressure, cholesterol, C-reactive protein, which is that inflammatory marker, increased stem cells, preservation of lean body mass, decreased weight. It's just the greatest combination of things, and it's just a form of fasting, but fasting in a way that's very simple, remarkably easy. You do it once a month for 3 months, and then every 3 to 4 months thereafter. And all the while, as I said, because you've seen such improvements, it gives you even more motivation for you to be able to make those changes for yourself. So I hope I've given you a plan of attack for you to be able to reach and maintain your ideal weight in a way that is simple, easy, emotionally satisfying, and physically you can feel it. That's what my hope is, as opposed to the feeling of starting something that isn't going to see some sort of impact. This is something that's been studied and has an enduring and long-lasting impact. So I hope everyone enjoyed this, and I certainly did. I'll be on for the next minute or two as I get everything sort of cleaned up on my desktop. If any of you have any questions, please do let me know, but please take advantage of the offer that we have here today by clicking on the link. And again, I look forward to sharing everything I've learned over the more than a year of putting hundreds of people on this fast. And really, again, I believe that this is the first day of starting a new health journey for you, because we're taking ancient knowledge that's been validated, scientifically updated for the 21st century in a way that makes it safe, easy, and impactful. And I am just thrilled to be able to play a part in introducing this to you. So thank you again for your attention. I see we've come on the 1 hour mark. I'm going to spend a little time here cleaning up my inbox. I hope everyone can see the link and goes there now. If you have any questions, please do let me know. I'll be on for another minute here. Thank you again.